Okay, so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Luca Delucchi. I'm a GIS technician at Fondazione MAC in Trento at the research center. And I'm doing several stuff in the GIS field, from a little bit of analysis, geospatial databases, and WebGIS. But today I'm speaking about one of my last projects. So it's called the DigiAgriApp, and it's an application, multiple application to manage all the information related to the agriculture fields. So when we start to think about it, my previous head asked me to prepare something that it was really versatile and useful for different projects. So I have a small field, so the main issue that I want to fix or to have fixed, it was that I could use in my small field and also in a big commercial field. And the infrastructure is a server and client. We have a server that is a REST API, and the client that is just a visualization, and now it's starting also to be an editor of the data. It is completely free and open source, and released with a GPL license. We asked permission to my company to release as open source, and they accept. So this was one of the main issues at the start. And it's based on a robust and well-established open source project. Why? Because 2 years ago, 1 year and a half ago, my institute is an mainly agriculture institute. They start to think about digital after some year, and they create a digital agriculture unit. As I told you before, my previous head say, okay, we need to have something that we can manage by ourselves, or at least we can contribute, and he has to be able to manage all the information coming from the field. Because we have some colleagues that are managing weather station or a small sensor in the field, so this was the main topic that we had to resolve, or the main contribution, but the main solution that we have to provide. It was save the data coming from the sensor in the database and visualize them. I started to look for some other open source projects. I found some of them, but they don't supply all the requests that I had. So I should be able to modify them. There is one that is called Farmhouse that provides the most used application in with free and open source license, but is developed in Drupal, and I don't like it, and I say no, that is not my choice. And looking something else, I didn't find anything, and say okay, I will start my own project. So we spent some time, a couple of months, to design the databases to be really versatile, and after that we start to think at the stack. We decide to develop the server in Python because I know quite well Python, and say okay, that is the solution. And the other point was to have a client that it was multi-platform. And I know quite well Andrea since a long time. They had this GeoPaparazzi application, and a couple of years ago they moved completely to a new application written in Flutter, because it's a multi-platform, and it was quite a new language, but is well supported by Google and other big players. So we asked them if they can help us to build the client. The features right now are the management of the field, subfield, row, and the signal parent. So you can save the geometry and the attribute about that. The management of all the operation done in the field, so pruning, grass cutting, and stuff like that. Storing and visualize data from weather station from different providers. Right now we have just implemented one, but the idea is to provide different other providers to get data from. Storing and visualizing data from remote sensing. So I'm from JS field, and that one was one of my main and interesting part. And so I told you that is a server and client. So let's see how the server is developed. As I told you before, is a REST API based on PostGIS and Postgres as databases, and the API itself are developed by Django and mainly by Django REST framework, and a lot of other smaller Python libraries like PyStack. There is Django REST framework, GIS, and some other. So there are a lot of dependencies, but they are quite simple to install with pip, so everything should be quite simple. And what came by default with Django is an administration panel that is quite useful at least at the start, because we didn't add the client yet. So with the administration panel, we can draw the field, the rows, and stuff like that. And however, we can continue to keep the panel because some data or some information will be not exported to the, or not able to edit from the client, and just the people that as like manager or something like that, they can insert directly from the panel. So this one is the classical Django panel application. You can see there are the field, all the information that are stored in different layers. This the API, the REST API, Django REST API brings a web client, and so you can test, and you can also use it to insert and update data. It is quite useful when you have not a client yet, so you can test, you can make a test and everything just with the web client. We have a Swagger, so you can see all the API call. Instead, for the client, as I told you before, is developing Flutter. We choose this platform for the multi-operability, and you can install easily everywhere. We compile in Android or in Linux, so you can use on mobile or in desktop application. And this was I think one of the most important choice, because right now there are some colleagues that they will use in the future. We were thinking to use mainly on tab or an iPad or something like that. But now they tell us, no, we want to work in the office. So in this way, we have not to rebuild all the client. We just compile for Windows or Linux or whatever, and it works. So we are in a really development stage. So there are some pictures that are already changed, and they will change a little bit in the next month. So this is the client. You can see all the feed. There are some information, and you can enter in the field. Okay, we have also map visualization, so a list or map, because especially in our region, there are a lot of people working in the field that are quite old, not used to use map, but they are more comfortable with a list of names. This is the visualization of some geographical information, so field, subfield, rows, and plant as this kind of visualization, so the geometry and the information connected. And we are working a lot in this moment with Andrea to improve the client. Since 1 month ago it was just in visualization mode, you cannot modify anything. Right now it's possible to start to modify, and so we are making some progress, and I think that in a couple of months we could release like a beta or something like that. I started to develop also a QGIS plugin, because at one moment I had to insert all the information about my field, and I drove from QGIS the geometry and say, oh, and now how can I put in the server? Yeah, I could download the GeoJSON and you upload it, but it was simple to make a plugin that you can import, export. And right now it's just import and export, but my plan is to permit the synchronization, so to keep all the data from the server to a geo package in local and keep it updated. Yeah, is the idea. So, and also you can upload all the raster. For example, if you fly with a drone, you can import the raster in QGIS and after importing the server with the plugin. Another idea that I have is to develop something in WebODM or Open Drone Maps, but it will take a while before I want to finish this plugin and the server and all the stuff, and after continue with other ideas. And yeah, I told you, the server is able to store the remote sensing data, not only from other providers, but also maps that you do, so you can easily upload the data from the client. Yeah, this is the QGIS plugin. Is developed in several windows, and when you import the data, you can select which layer you want to import, what kind of feature is, so if it's a field, a subfield, and so on, and after you can upload. So, what we already implemented. So, the management of the all information that I showed you before. These are the provided we already created. One is the MQTT. MQTT is a service to share small data in IoT. So our weather stations are based on LoRaWAN. So they can connect, they send the data to the Things network, that is an online provider of LoRaWAN services. And the Things network is sending MQTT as services. So we can connect to the MQTT from the server and get all the data. And the other one is the stack one for the remote sensing. So stack is quite useful format to download remote sensing data, or to query and download the remote sensing data. And right now we implemented the AWS services from Sentinel, and you can get all the data from that services and make some indexes, like right now NDVI and VI, and store this information on your database. Yeah, the support of any kind of geospatial raster data, like UAV for imagery, or also NDVI if you calculate with some terrestrial sensor. There are some sensors that you can calculate immediately the NDVI, and they can create a map later, so you can import it on the server and see on the map. And a simple chart for data visualization. And we are thinking to make some more complex chart, because some colleague asked me, yeah, but we would like to see humidity and temperature together. Okay, yeah, we can do that, but take a while. We will first finish all the other stuff, and after we will do also that. What I would like to implement in the future. Okay, it should be done in a couple of months. So the editing of geometry from the app. Right now it's not possible, but it will be done. The support of evidence and thesis for experimental activities, since we have a group of colleagues that is working on experiment on plants. They have their own system, but it's really old, like it came from 2003. And my IT department say, okay, you cannot use anymore this kind of stuff because it's based on Ubuntu 1, I don't remember what kind of version. And they say, we will not update anymore, you have to find something new. And I was speaking with a friend during the night in front of a beer, and he said, "Yeah, I need to find a project to manage all our thesis." Oh, come on. You have this one. We work in the same institution, but in different center. We are developing this. Oh, cool. Yeah, we can use it. And we spoke a little bit with his head and say, yeah, we can try, and but we need to implement this part because we need to make our activities. Okay, no problem. We will do. So now we are looking for some companies helping us to make the client part, because I can modify a little bit, but I'm not really a deep developer in Flutter, and so we need some help for that. Yeah, I told you the support for complex chart is not yet planned, but it's required from my colleague, so we will think about that. And what I would like really to have is the support of OGC API inside the client. And so at that point also the server will provide all the geometries as OGC API standard, with the OGC API standard. But this require a lot of time and money to create the library for Flutter to get the OGC API client. So we will see. Right now is a wish that I have, but let's see how it moves. Because also we have some. I try to implement PyOGC API on the server, but we have some requirement that people can see only some feature and stuff like that. That is not completely implemented in PyOGC API. So right now I just send the geometrical part as GeoJSON, and we use like that for now. So some acknowledgement, because the project is mainly supported by Fondazione Mac with my time and with some money. But in February we won a project. So the VRT is a foundation that is support research in Trentino, and we apply and we won this project. It's a 6-month project, so really short, and but they give some money, and with that money we are able to pay like Andrea and the other company to help us to improve the application. And obviously, there is no the link. The logo, sorry, Andrea. There was before, maybe during copy I lost it. And Hydrology for their support, because they really help us a lot. Without them, we will not be able to have the client, or maybe we could have, but completely different, only web develop in Python, something like that. So I think that that's all. You can find the code on GitLab. At the DigiAgriApp, you can find the server, the mobile, the presentation. The plugin is not yet there because I want to make it a little bit more stable, and probably also implement the synchronization before release it. And yeah, I don't expect so many people, so I'm really happy to see that. And as Marco told this morning, I would like to create a small community about that. And around the software, and since there are a lot of people, if you are interested, you are really welcome to join the development, or also the testing when there will be something a little bit more stable. Thanks a lot. So now I jump in the chair, people, and there are some questions. Yeah.
How do you monitor the different activities done on the field? Do you, for instance, the plowing and mowing, do you detect that automatically?
No, right now no. Yeah, inserted by people.
So you communicate with the farmers?
Yeah, the idea is that the farmer use the application. Yeah. The idea is that one. Okay. For example, we were speaking with some vineyard companies, it's not a company, but it's a little bit bigger. They already have some application because for wine they have a lot of requirement to do. They have to provide every time that they make some treatment, how much treatment and stuff like that. So there is a company that is providing all the services, but the company doesn't allow to use to the farmer. Only the people that are the consultant, like something like that, that are going around the vineyard to look, they can insert the data, but the company say, but we want that also farmers use it, because otherwise we can lose some information, because maybe the consultant doesn't go to that field or to that small farmer. In Trentino, the medium or the average of the size of the field is 1 hectare. So there are a lot of people managing small farms, and so they want that farmer can use the application and save the data, and after move the data from our services to the other one. And so yeah, the idea is that the farmer go directly to using the app and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw you showed some geometries for the field.
Yeah.
So is that digitize using the client app or something that you need to export?
Yeah, right now it's not possible, but in the future they could digitize the app or from QGIS and after upload the data. Yeah. Yeah, starting from there and going there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So is the app is used by the farmer themselves, and I take it that it must be easy to insert the data.
Yeah.
Now,
it's the same form that you saw before from Smash. Yeah. But they are not. The farmers are not allowed to modify them. They are forced on the schema that we have on the database.
okay, so the real use for the user, does it only store historical data? So only what's happened, like the rain, the precipitation,
Irrigation.
or does it also provide a model of what's going to happen in the next year?
Okay.
Or it helps the farmer predict how to irrigate it,
So right now it's just to managing the data, so the historical stuff. But in the future we would like to do something more. But I don't know in which kind of field, irrigation or fertilizing, or I don't know. Or for example, we have some colleagues that they develop a new way to grow apple, like the Guyot in the vineyard for people knows. Like I have this. So usually the tree are just one line, and they have all the stuff like that. But they create a new way to do something like this. A Japanese way? I don't know. Okay, and they want to find a way to cut automatically the older piece, because you have to keep just 7. I don't remember the number. So this could be another idea to taking picture and automatically to say you have to cut this one. So the application of modeling, depending on who is interested or who is using that, and which kind of solution they want.
Yeah, and just out of curiosity, can it also be used outside Italy? Like
Yeah, of course. You have just to install the server and install the client. It's not based in some countries. It's just you saw Italy because I have data from Italy, but the maps behind is OpenStreetMap, so you can you can add some WMS in the future, so you can cover everywhere. Yeah, you're welcome.
Two questions.
Okay.
One functional, one technical. Since I'm from Albania, last summer there was a disaster with wine, in the south.
Okay.
Probably because of dry weather or the high temperatures.
Okay.
But just one native variety
Survive.
survived.
Okay.
So I was.
This is quite common. It's a native, it's native. It makes sense that they can survive.
Like today was all fine. Next day,
Completely died.
so I was wondering how could it help? Like, okay, it's a mix of data, like variety of weather.
So how can help? So what can help is to mapping all the information, and after someone has to use this information to make some model and understand what is missing or what happened. So right now it's just to managing, not to predict something. But as I told before, in the future we will see. I have not a clear way or a clear idea.
The technical part.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't guess you do like a lot of heavy querying of your spatial data. Or if you do they?
Not really. Right now, not really.
Okay, so you manage them in the database or in the backend code?
No, sorry, I lost
So
it.
the geospatial queries go directly to the database?
But there are not many geospatial queries. No, you just get the data and it's just a API call and you make a query on the databases and return the GeoJSON.
Okay.
So right now it's quite simple stuff.
Okay, thank you about this. Quite interesting. Maybe can, like Marco said, you can see after several years.
Yeah.
I have two questions. First one that maybe I will ask is in the future is it possible to integrate some model?
Yeah.
That's super important.
Yeah, I know.
And if you can integrate models, it can be more useful.
Yeah, sure.
Another one is about the cost. If people use your app, the app is almost free. But is there any actual cost if they store the data? Where they store their data?
No, sorry, I don't.
The cost, is there actual cost for the storage of data?
The cost.
Yeah.
So we have not a commercial idea yet.
Yeah.
It's open source, so everyone can install their own server in their own IT department and store the data where they want. Maybe in the future we could provide services and put some fee, but it's not yet a plan. Right now it's more a research project. Right now, let's see how it will increase and which kind of request we get, because right now it's mainly for managing our data to make project, a research project on that. So yeah, the modeling could be, it was the third step. One is to develop the application, put in production, and after when is the production with the data, do something. I have some friends that they are doing modeling on the data, but not inside the application, outside. So
May I ask about?
Yeah, sure.
You said it's a research project, it's research stage.
Yeah.
So how many users do you have right now?
In production, 0, because it's not yet in production. So we are the main user right now. I install in 2 different servers, in my private server to manage my own data, and in the Fondazione server to manage the data coming from the field.
When will this project end?
I think in a couple of months there should be released a beta version, something like that. Because we need to go in production for the colleague by the end of the year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.